There is a tree growing in the deepest recesses of the Amazon rainforest right now that contains a chemical compound so potent it defies the established laws of modern oncology. It does not burn healthy cells like radiation. It does not poison your entire systemic blood supply like chemotherapy. It acts with the cold precision of a sniper in documented laboratory tests. This compound has been shown to hunt down and terminate specific cancer cells in as little as 48 hours. It is 10,000 times stronger in killing colon cancer cells than adriamycin, the red devil drug that is currently the standard of care in chemotherapy wards around the world. And yet, you will not find it in your local hospital. You will not find it prescribed by your doctor. You will find it in a cardboard juice carton in the grocery aisle, disguised as a tropical smoothie flavor for centuries. Indigenous healers in the rainforest used the bark and leaves of this tree to cool the body, to expel parasites, and to calm the spirit. They did not know they were holding a biological weapon that targets the very energy source of a tumor. And today, despite 20 years of quiet but explosive research proving its efficacy in vitro, it remains one of the most controversial plants on Earth. It was the subject of a billion-dollar research project that was suddenly and mysteriously buried. It is the cure that was silenced, not because it failed, but because it could not be owned. The archive opens in the year 1976, when the National Cancer Institute launched a massive screening program to find natural cures in the wild. They were desperate. The war on cancer had been declared by President Nixon, and the government was pouring money into finding anything that could stop the disease. They collected tens of thousands of plant samples from the corners of the globe. They expected to find mild antivirals. They expected to find slight immune boosters. What they found in the leaves and stems of a tree scientifically known as Times Annona muricata, time stopped them cold. The initial data showed that an extract from this tree was attacking cancer cells with a ferocity and a specificity they had never seen before in a natural compound. It did not just slow the growth. It induced necrosis. It killed the cells. But unlike chemotherapy, which kills every rapidly dividing cell in your body, including the cells that grow your hair, the cells that line your stomach, and the cells that make up your immune system, this extract seemed to leave healthy cells completely untouched. This was the magic bullet that science had been searching for since the 1940 seconds. The results were so promising, so undeniably effective in the test tube, that a major American pharmaceutical company spent the next 7 years and millions of dollars trying to turn it into a drug. They expected to synthesize the active ingredient. They expected to file a patent that would secure their monopoly for 20 years. They expected to make billions. What they found instead was a wall they could not climb. So what did the scientists actually find inside this plant? Let me tell you about the molecule that terrified the pharmaceutical industry. It is called an acetogenin. This is not a simple vitamin or a mineral. It is a long-chain fatty acid derivative that acts like a cellular saboteur. Its mechanism of action is terrifyingly brilliant. To understand it, you have to understand how cancer works. Every cell in your body runs on a fuel called ATP. It is the energy currency of life. Cancer cells are ravenous. They are mutated engines running at full throttle, and they need massive amounts of ATP to grow and multiply. They consume glucose at a rate that is exponentially higher than a normal cell. The acetogenins found in this plant identify these high-energy cells, and they cut the fuel line. They inhibit an enzyme called NADH oxidase in the plasma membrane of the cancer cell. Essentially, they pull the plug on the cell's energy supply. The cancer cell does not explode, it starves. It runs out of energy to maintain its structure. It cannot pump out toxins. It cannot replicate. It simply shuts down and dies. And because normal cells do not have this insatiable, abnormal demand for ATP, the acetogenins largely ignore them. It is the difference between a smart bomb and a carpet bombing. But it gets even more shocking. Research conducted at Purdue University in 1996, led by Dr. Jerry McLaughlin, found that these acetogenins were effective against multi-drug-resistant cancer cells. These are the nightmare cells that keep oncologists awake at night. These are the cells that have learned to recognize chemotherapy drugs and pump them out before they can work. The cancer develops a pump mechanism called P-glycoprotein. It literally spits the poison back out. The Purdue study showed that the acetogenins in this plant had a special affinity for these super-resistant cells. Because these pumps require massive amounts of energy to work, and because the plant compound cuts off that energy, the cancer cell becomes powerless. It cannot pump out the attacker. The study concluded that this plant compound was 10,000 times more effective at blocking these resistant cells than the standard drug adriamycin. 10,000 times. Not 10%. Not double. 10,000 times. The ancient people of the Amazon did not have a word for multi-drug resistance. They did not know what P-glycoprotein was. They simply knew that when the body was consumed by a hot, wasting disease, this leaf would cool it down and bring the person back from the edge. So here is the question that should make you outraged. If this plant is 10,000 times stronger than chemo in the lab, if it kills cancer in 48 hours in a Petri dish, and if it is safe for healthy cells, why did the research stop? Why is it not the standard of care? Why is your doctor not prescribing it? The answer is the brutal, cold logic of the patent system. The major pharmaceutical company that spent 7 years studying this plant hit a legal dead end. They isolated the acetogenins. They proved they worked, but then their lawyers delivered the fatal blow. They told the executives, "You cannot patent a plant. Because the chemical occurs in nature, it belongs to everyone. It belongs to the public domain. You cannot claim exclusive rights to a leaf that grows in the jungle." If they spent $500 million to put this extract through FDA trials and get it approved, they would have no way to recoup that investment. As soon as they published the data, any other company could sell the exact same extract, or worse. Patients could simply grow the tree in their backyard and boil the leaves for free. They tried to synthesize a man-made version. They tried to tweak the molecule just enough to make it new so they could patent it. They failed. The natural molecule was too complex. It had a specific spatial arrangement that they could not replicate cheaply in a lab. The synthetic versions lost the magic. They were not as effective. The company faced a choice. They could release their findings to the world and help millions of people, but they would make zero profit. Or they could bury the research. They chose the profits. They shut down the project. They shelved the data. They classified the results. They decided that if they could not own the cure, nobody would have it. For decades, this knowledge sat in the dark. They did not suppress it through a grand conspiracy of evil men in a smoke-filled room. They suppressed it through the cold, calculated neglect of a system that values intellectual property over human life. They classified it as unprofitable. They told the researchers to move on to synthetic chemicals that could be trademarked. But here is what they could not erase. The tree itself, the knowledge itself. While the executives were shredding documents and reassigning scientists, the tree was still growing in the gardens of the Caribbean. The biological factory was still running. Photosynthesis was still producing acetogenins. And the people of the rainforest were still drinking the tea. But knowledge does not die. It only sleeps. In the rainforests of Brazil, they call it graviola. It is not a secret there. It is a staple. In Mexico and Colombia, they call it guanabana. You can buy it at any street market in a giant, spiky green fruit that tastes like a mix of strawberry, pineapple, and citrus. In the Philippines and Indonesia, they call it guiabano or sirsak. In the Caribbean, grandmothers have been brewing soursop tea for generations. They give it to children to help them sleep. They give it to the elderly to treat arthritis. They use the crushed leaves to treat skin infections. They call it the cooling bush. They do not know about mitochondrial inhibition or ATP depletion. They do not know about the Purdue University study. They just know that it works. In Jamaica, it is known as a nerve tonic. In Haiti, it is used to break fevers. In Africa, specifically in Nigeria, traditional healers use the bark and the roots to treat diabetes and viral infections. This is not a famine food. This is a prized delicacy half the world never forgot. They were eating the cure for dessert. The other half was taught to trust only what comes in a pill bottle with a prescription label. The other half was taught that natural remedies are snake oil. Even when the science proves they are stronger than the drugs, that moment is now. The research has leaked. A researcher from that original pharmaceutical team felt the weight of his conscience. He contacted the Health Sciences Institute and blew the whistle. The internet has reconnected the ancient knowledge with the modern science. We know it today as soursop. So here is what you do. You stop waiting for a pharmaceutical company to sell you a synthetic version of nature. You stop waiting for the system that profited from the suppression to suddenly have a change of heart. You go to the source. You can find this fruit in Asian and Latin American markets right now. It is large, green, and covered in soft, fleshy spikes. It looks like a dragon's egg. But you must be smart. You must be educated. The power is not just in the fruit. The research shows that the acetogenins are most concentrated in the leaves and the stems. You can buy dried soursop leaves online or at herbal shops. You make a tea. You take a handful of dried leaves, about 15 of them, and you boil them in a liter of water. You let it simmer. You let it steep until the water turns a rich, amber color. But there is a critical, absolute safety note you must respect. This plant is a weapon. It is potent. It contains alkaloids, specifically one called annanasin, that can be neurotoxic if taken in massive doses over long periods. Some studies in the Caribbean have linked excessive consumption of the seeds, not the leaves, but the seeds and the fruit to atypical Parkinson's-like symptoms in populations that eat them every single day as a primary food source. Do not blend the seeds into your smoothie. Do not chew the seeds. The seeds contain the highest concentration of the neurotoxins, and do not drink the tea for months without a break. Use it as a medicine, not a beverage. Take it for 2 weeks, then rest for 2 weeks. Listen to your body. Respect the dosage. When you drink this tea, you are reclaiming the science that was buried. You are bypassing the patent system. You are using the exact same molecule that the billion-dollar company tried to monopolize. You are taking control of your own biology. Every person who boils these leaves is proving that you cannot trademark nature. Every cup of tea is an act of medical rebellion. You are stating that your health is more important than their shareholders' quarterly returns. The research they buried is back. The tree they abandoned is growing in the tropics. The fruit they ignored is in your grocery store. The indigenous healers knew. The scientists at Purdue definitely knew. The executives at the drug company knew. And now you know. Graviola is still here. Still targeting the energy of the sick cells. Still sparing the healthy ones. Still growing in the soil. Fueled by the sun and the rain. Still waiting for you to realize that the most powerful chemotherapy on Earth does not come from a lab. It comes from a tree. It can feed you. If this opened something for you, subscribe. Every share helps preserve the knowledge they spent decades trying to hide. The next vault opens soon.